Hey everybody, welcome to the Sports in the Mitten podcast, powered by Mr. Spots of Ann Arbor. I'm your host, Adam Biggers, Michigan and Michigan State beat writer for FanRag Sports. It is Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, as requested by a few of you guys. Want to do it a little bit earlier, but actually cooled off, so it's a good thing. It's been really hot here in mid-Michigan, and I think Michigan as a whole. So, going to keep it kind of short tonight. Obviously, I want to talk about Jim Harbaugh's press conference today with the Purdue comment really stood out as well. But I wrote a piece that's on FanRag Sports, so you guys check that out, fanragsports.com. Follow them on Twitter, at fanrag_u and at fanragsports. Basically, I mean, there's never a bad time, I guess, for a bye week. But is this a bad time for Michigan to have a bye week? And I think, I mean, given what we saw in the second half against Purdue, see the offense clicking, I'm sure these guys want to get out and play as soon as possible. They got to sit around for 12 days before they play Michigan State. So people are starting to pop into the room. I'll open up the browser. But yeah, we'll talk about the Harbaugh Purdue comment, kind of Big Ten in general, as far as visitor facilities. I want to talk about John O'Korn too. I was asked a really good question on Twitter, and I'll probably start that. I'll probably start the questioning or the answers, whatever. I'll start it up with that one. But first I want to greet everybody. Steve Gregorio, sorry, crazy hot, only in Michigan. Steve, it is sweltering, man. Elite Demon says that. Adam, what's up, bro? Where you been, Elite Demon? We are banged up. I'm glad we have a bye week, says Elite Demon. Costco Payne, how's it going? Go well, Costco. Chris Hawk, how are you doing? Steve I'll spit it out. Steve Gregorio. Steve. I'm just going to say Steve right now. I think it's good health-wise, not just Wilton Spate, but overall. Mark Reed, this is a perfect week for the bye, in my humble opinion, says Mark Reed. Andre Pearson Thompson, or Andrew rather, sorry Andrew. I've been battling Tim Brando and his followers over this whole Purdue thing. Lee Demon said he kept missing the broadcast, man. Still be reading your Twitter, watching videos later, and reading your articles. Alright, I appreciate it. Wes Weber's in the building. Hey Wes. Call me Degree, says Steve. Steve Degree, alright. We'll work it. Or is it DeGray? No. All right. I'll start. This is why, and of course, injury-wise, that sort of thing. But, I mean, if you look at it, just since Jim Harbaugh's been in Michigan, the bye week has been, I believe it was October 14th last year, and then the year before was like 28th. It was around Halloween. So, past couple years, they've had an earlier bye week. I don't know if Michigan, other than, Wilton Spate, Wilton's injury, and we don't know a timetable for that, soft tissue injury. Tariq Black, I mean, this bye week wouldn't make a difference for him. I would doubt that we see Tariq back anytime soon. But, maybe guys who have minor bumps and bruises, yeah, it's good for a breather. But at the same time, and entertain this thought with me, guys, at the same time, did we not see the best-looking Michigan offense of the season during the second half of the Purdue game? And I know people are saying, oh, well, it was against Purdue. But beforehand, and I'm saying people nationally, I watched a little bit of, I'm not even going to say, just flipping through channels. Beforehand, it was respect Purdue. Now, afterward, it's, Michigan did that. It's Purdue. Booger McFarland actually said this on ESPN. It was Purdue. I want to see how they do against the better teams in the conference, yada, yada, yada. Whatever you say, to me, I look at Michigan's offense in the second half with John O'Korn. John moved the ball. John was elusive. John was fantastic. And Lee Demon says if 100% of Spate had not got hurt, we probably would have lost. I don't agree with that. I still think it's Wilton, and I'll go into that later. But right now, let's focus on John O'Korn. So if I'm a quarterback and I'm coming off one of the best games of my career, and I mean John looked great, and his stat line, 18 of 26 for 270 yards, averaged 10.4 yards per completion, 1 touchdown, an interception. 1 pick, but at the same time, there were no bobbled exchanges, no fumbles. I thought John looked very comfortable. Jim Harbaugh said today that John saw the field well and basically knew what he was doing right from the get-go. So, and Shawn Michaels here. Hey, Shawn, how you doing? I'm looking at it from this perspective. You have a hot quarterback right now, and if they were to play this week and, anything beyond this week, we don't know for sure. And it's all speculation. I know there's a few things floating out there, but nothing has been confirmed. Other than if Michigan were to play this week, Wilton Spate would not be playing. So, okay, well, that's one game, Elite Demon. That's one game. Wilton and Booger McFarland actually made this point, and it's something that I've said and I've been saying. Wilton's the guy who's led Michigan. He's the one who's won all these games for Michigan. He's the one who's been leading Michigan. It's Wilton Spate's job. And I'll just go to Twitter because this is going to be the hot topic of the show, I know. But I do want to get back to the points in the column. Why I think, I mean, you look at a hot defense, you look at Chris Evans, you look at the tight end use. I mean, right now, everything offensively, at least in the second half against Purdue, it gives Michigan something pretty positive to build on offensively, whereas in the first 3 games, we couldn't really say that. It was off rhythm, where's the balance, all this stuff. I think it would benefit a team to follow up again the next week. And again, they can't choose when the byes are, and of course the bye week's important to get healthy, but I'm talking in terms of momentum. And I'd venture to guess a lot of these guys would probably want Michigan State right now. They're feeling pretty good. So the question was asked, let me get it here. Okay, this one's from Sarah Altamimi. Sorry, Sarah. She wants to know, is one game too little of a sample size to say he earned it? Also considering what Spate has shown so far. And that's kind of piggybacking off a previous question that she asked, what's my take on the quarterback situation? And I said, well, it varies on the duration of Wilton Spate's injury, obviously. Let's say, hypothetically, that Wilton is out for an extended period of time. So John comes in. John gets you a win against Michigan State. John starts rolling through the schedule. Next thing you know, Michigan's a one-loss team, a no-loss team, possibly, playing Ohio State. I mean, John gets you through Michigan State, gets you through Indiana, Penn State, Rutgers, Minnesota, at Maryland, and then, if it's late in the season, say it's Wisconsin, Ohio State, and all of a sudden, they say, okay, well, Wilton Spate's cleared to play. He's healthy. At that point, I think you have to go with a hot hand, and that's not saying that it's not going against anything that I think with Wilton having the job, but it's logic at that point. If John O'Korn, and again, in theory, I don't have a specific timetable. I'm not, giving you guys any hints. I don't know how long Wilton Spate's going to be out. But let's just say 2-3 games, and John goes out there and performs really well, and the offense is clicking, and Michigan's an unbeaten team. I think at that point, you have to, as a coach, you have to go with John O'Korn at that point. And again, that's not a knock on Wilton, and Wilton was the number one. He couldn't control when he got injured. At the same time, he can't control how well John O'Korn comes in and plays. It's a meritocracy, remember? Jim Harbaugh has long said that. So I think if it is a short-term thing, a 1-game, maybe even a 2-game thing, then it's still Wilton, no question. But if it goes longer than that, and if it's an extended type of injury, and John O'Korn settles in and he's leading the team, at that point, I can't justify going back to Wilton Spate just for the fact of what's better for the offense, what's better for the team. So I hope that answers it. And I'm seeing a bunch of flooding questions. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Yes, I think Devin Bush is one of the best linebackers in the country. I have no problem saying that at all. When you watch him go side to side like Devin Bush does, and it's Elite Demon, until we see someone lose their job that has started before, that meritocracy is just coach speak. Well, no, I don't think so, Elite Demon. I think it's, again, Wilton Spate didn't lose the job. He got injured. If John O'Korn, and if it is an extended injury, if John O'Korn comes in and shows that he's able, I don't think there's any reason. If I'm the coach, and even if I know, okay, in the back of my mind, look, I have all the confidence in the world in Wilton Spate, and he was my guy, but if John O'Korn rattles off 4 or 5 wins in a row, why would I want to disrupt chemistry? That's 4 or 5 games, and at that point, how many games has Wilton Spate played? He's played 3 games in 1 quarter. So at that point, the transfer of power, I think, just by default of snaps, would go to John O'Korn. Are you guys following me on this? I think it makes total sense. Lee Demon, yeah, 7. I will give you that. And the past 3 injured, and then the beginning of this year. I mean, I don't know what was he timid? I was waiting for Wilton to get to the level that he had played in the first 9 games of last year. But again, he was the number 1 guy for a reason coming into this. John O'Korn, you have to tip your cap to John for seizing an opportunity. If John O'Korn seizes an opportunity and it's an extended thing, only they know for sure. John, for all I know right now, they could be prepping John and saying, look, man, Wilton's going to be out for X amount of weeks. You're the guy. We don't know. And Jim Harbaugh's not really going to give us any clarification. I'm going to do my best to see if I could get some information on a timetable. But like I said, in theory, if this is a long-term injury for Wilton Speight and John comes in and rattles off 4 or 5 wins in a row and they're 8-0 or 9-0 or 8-1, and then Wilton becomes healthy again, if I'm the coach, I say no. I mean, although like I just said, I don't want to repeat myself, but even though I rode with you and Wilton, you were the guy, and you were, but right now, John is doing it. I don't see any point in disrupting the chemistry. And again, this is all hypothetical, if, then, or whatever. If it's a 1-week thing and John starts against Michigan State and Wilton's healthy to go the next week, then it's back to Wilton, regardless of the outcome, I think. Judah, the Cushite Pharaoh, Chase and Bush are amazing motors. Okay, you guys, I do want, before we end the show, I do want to get back into the topics where I think, having the bye week right now, I'm not saying it's going to slow down Michigan, but there's so many stats pointing like these guys are on the way up. 30 rushing yards against Purdue. I think Purdue had like 7 drives for 18 yards in the second half. I mean, we're talking, and then we see a lot of this offensive firepower. We see McCune and Gentry combined for, what was it, let me get the exact yardage here. I just wrote it too. Sometimes I forget things. It's like about 100 yards. Gentry with that 12-yard touchdown and that catch up the seam. I mean, did you guys see the way that Gentry adjusted the ball on that? That was an incredible catch. Absolutely incredible. I thought it was about time that the tight ends were incorporated a little bit more. Because if we look at the receiving, I mean, Sean McCune had 5 catches for 82 yards, and Zach had 3 for 48. So it was actually my fault. It was like about 130 yards, 8 catches for 130 yards, a touchdown. That's pretty good productions out of your tight ends, I would think. So Chris Evans had a day, that 49-yard touchdown burst. And again, people were asking, what's wrong with Chris Evans? What's wrong with Chris? No, there's nothing wrong with Chris Evans. Ty Isaac was the hot hand for a second. Ty was getting some carries. They went to Karan a little bit. Karan got some carries. It's just good rotation. It's a good rotation. Wes Weber wants to know, from what I saw of MSU, do you think they could come into the big house and steal a game? No. I think it's a close game, but I don't have any doubt that Michigan wins this game. I say close because these past 2 games, even though Michigan kind of, it was decisive toward the end last year, it had the feel almost of a blowout, but I expected Michigan actually last year to go in and blow them out. We all know what happened in 2015 with the botched punt. So, I mean, Michigan should have won in 2015. Probably should have won by a larger margin last year, but at the same time, this is a rivalry game. It depends on how Michigan State's attitude is following Iowa, win or lose. So, I do think Michigan. I know they're favored by, I don't know, what's the line? I saw it online. Someone tweeted it, 17.5 or something like that. I don't think Michigan wins by 17.5. I don't have a score prediction for right now, but I do think that there's no doubt that Michigan wins this game. Let me see. I missed some of these questions, guys. I'm gonna go up. I think you guys are starting to kind of talk to each other just as much as you talk to me. So should I just leave the live stream on and I can walk away? You guys can just use this as a chat room. Is that how we're gonna do it now? So Demario Vaughn, what happened to Wheatley and Bunting? I thought they'd be number 1 and number 2 tight ends. Demario, again, I don't know if it's a question of exactly what happened to those guys. It's what's happening with Zach Gentry and Sean McCune. At this point right now, if I'm a Michigan fan, I'm happy that I have 2 talented guys on the team I love behind 2 guys who are tearing it up right now. Sean McCune, to me, is fantastic tight end. Zach Gentry, like I said, if I was wrong about Zach, I didn't realize he was going to have such a big role in this tight end core. I thought it was going to be Wheatley, was going to be in there, Bunting. I mean, in the beginning of the year, I thought it was going to be Wheatley, Bunting, then McCune, then Gentry, and that kind of flipped, so we saw through camp, Sean McCune emerged as the number 1 tight end, and we've seen, just through 4 games, I don't want to say time and time again because they're both first-year starters and Sean's a true freshman, but what we've seen of them through 4 games, they are reliable. Sean McCune didn't have any drops yesterday. I don't think he had any drops the previous game. So I don't know if it's necessarily what happened to Wheatley and Bunting. I think, again, just point to the fact what McCune and Gentry are doing. Michigan might have the 2 best tight ends in the Big Ten when it's all said and done. Marcel Woods wants to know, okay, Big Bubble Blue says hopefully Walker gets more carries. Kareem should get some more. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. He got a few. I think, 3 for 7 yards or something like that. Marcel Woods, does Pep add some read option going forward with O'Korn? And that's another thing, too. I had to believe that with Wilton Speight being the guy, the 3-year relationship with Jim Harbaugh, and all the things that that I've discussed with you guys previously, that maybe some part of the offense was catered to Wilton's strengths. Now, with John O'Korn, how much do you alter that offense? And that's a great, thanks, Marcel. I think I'm going to write a column on that this week. Or heading into the next week. Why not? Appreciate the idea, Marcel. I'll give you credit. I'll tweet it at you. But yeah, great question. How much do they, because they are 2 very different quarterbacks. Wilton is mobile. Arm first, mobility second. John O'Korn has a serviceable arm, and John made a lot of throws. And on the run. And if you watch him ducking and dodging, I mean, the eye test, it doesn't matter. And you guys know that I've been firmly, planted with Speight as number 1, but eye test wise, John O'Korn excelled. He played better than Wilton has all year during that second half against Purdue, and there's no questioning that, none in my mind. And I don't know if it was just more things came together externally. The wide receivers were running better routes. He didn't necessarily have better protection from the O-line. We saw how he had to scramble a lot. But I do think the scrambling is a little bit more part of John O'Korn's game. Oh, no, you guys go ahead. Wes, Steve, Big Blue, all you guys, chat away if you have questions. Marcel Woods, he thinks Wheatley had a cast on his hand. He is banged up. That, I can confirm that. Any word on Crawford? Achilles? No, Wes. Nothing that I can confirm. Elite Demon wants to know, with O-line issues, we need someone who can move better. And that's a good point, too. I mean, John was pretty, for the most part, if I think of one word, I wanted to say fluid, but there was a little bit of herky-jerky with John. So it wasn't necessarily fluid, but it was, he created, I'll say that. And when he was on the run, I mean, he looked good doing it. I mean, even if it is a broken play, and I mean, I'll get, it's the one Michigan posted. He drops back. He's got a, you guys want me to duck? I'll duck. I'll do it. I'll do my best John O'Korn impression right here. So he's got a duck, a kind of turn around, and he's running inside with his right shoulder, right? He's not rolling out with his throwing shoulder outside where it's easier to make a throw. He's rolling inward and having to throw from across his body. So that's the demonstration today, guys. Appreciate it, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Those not watching the live stream, I feel like they're really missing out. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Epic demo. LOL. Yeah. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? When he had a duck, he got low. He was still upright. Had a nice wide athletic position. Made the play. Mike Sobrowski, you just missed the demo, man. You just missed the most athletic display you'll ever see from me on this show. Marcel Woods, O'Korn's legs won the Indiana game last year. Absolutely, Marcel. Haraugh 82, yeah, and the service station. Service station. What do you mean, Haraugh? So, guys, we are approaching 20 minutes. I want to remind everybody, if you're not watching the, if you're watching the live stream, or if you're not watching the live stream, if you just want the audio only version, you can get it on iTunes. Just search SITM and Sports in the Mitten. Google Play, on the FanRag Sports Blog Talk radio station as well. And if you have YouTube Red, actually, you can download this and then just listen to the audio. I'm thinking about springing for YouTube Red. Anybody out there try YouTube Red yet? I'm thinking about it. It's like $9.99 per month. Mike Zabrowski, how are we feeling about having that #1 defense, though? If you're a Michigan fan, you got to be very happy. I mean, and this is not a surprise. This is something that we had all been saying during the preseason, during the summer. I said very likely top 10 defense because there was, I won't call it apprehension, but I think it was fair to at least question the young secondary at first because they're first-year starters. But Brandon Watson, David Long, Lavert Hill, Jim Harbaugh said today that they've quietly and without any fanfare had a heck of a year, and that was pretty much verbatim, and I'd have to agree with that. Those were really the only questions I think about the defense. So even if the secondary wasn't as strong as it is right now, it's probably still a top 10 defense. Now we're looking at rate, if it keeps going at this rate, and again, we haven't seen the best Big Ten competition for Michigan yet, but there's no doubt in my mind this is going to be a top 5 total defense this year. And if we factor off the 2 pick sixes by Florida, because that is factored into the scoring defense average, Michigan, has got one of the top 5 or 6 scoring defenses right now, ranked number 12, but not a lot separating that. So, Haraugh said, yeah, the secondary was the biggest concern for me next to the O-line. Costco Payne, Devin Bush is well on his way to All-America season, possibly Winovich too. Hey, Chase, co-Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, national honor as well. What do you have? 6 tackles, 4 solos, 3 sacks. I mean, you don't really have... Jim Harbaugh said that Chase Winovich was playing like J.J. Watt. And Jim Harbaugh doesn't just go out there and compare. He doesn't always just go out there and compliment for the sake of complimenting. So if he says something like he's playing like J.J. Watt, he really means it. It's not just, okay, I'm gonna throw out some name and compare. That's what Jim Harbaugh saw out of Chase Winovich, was J.J. Watt-esque. Chris Hawk says Chase is going to break the sack record with a few games of spare. Yeah, what? I mean, Chase is number 3 nationally in terms of average, 1.38 sacks per game. He's already got 5.5. He's 2 behind the national leader. National leader's at Ball State. What's his name? I wrote it. You guys read this article because I don't want to just have to read it to you. This column, why I think that now, I'm not saying it's a bad time, but it's not the best time for a bye week. Let me get to the Winovich section here. Yeah, Anthony Winbush of Ball State has 7.5 sacks. Chase has 5.5. And again, we got to consider the different level of competition too. Chase has faced a Big Ten offensive line. Granted, Purdue's offensive line was no match for Michigan's D-line. Chase has faced an SEC defensive line. I mean, he can only play who's on the schedule. And basically everybody that Chase Winovich has played against, Chase Winovich has come out ahead. Judah the Cushite Pharaoh says, if they double Winovich instead of Gary, oh my God, yeah. And Chase is getting the benefit of that, but don't take away from Chase. If anything, give that to Rashawn. Look at how playing alongside Rashawn Gary is amplifying Chase Winovich. And that's what great players do. It's not always the statistics, it's make the guy next to you better. Rashawn Gary's doing that. Zach Frederick, having Rashawn, Hurst, and Chase is a blessing. They have to double team one of those 3 so the others get loose. And I mean, don't forget Brian Monet either. I mean, Brian's getting lost in the mix a little bit. But yeah, when you have a defensive line with those 4, and specifically Rashawn, Mo, and Chase, I mean, look at the plays that Devin Bush has been able to make. Mike McCray's been able to make. I mean, Josh Uche's got a sack this year. I mean, these guys are, if it's not the D-line getting it in the backfield, it's the linebackers. And with ease. YouTube says Michigan crowd needs to be wild and loud at the Sparty game. Yeah, in case you guys haven't heard, I tweeted it out earlier. Michigan announced today, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. It's on ABC. Game sold out. The lots around Michigan like the Ann Arbor Pioneer and the golf course, and they've redone all of that area too. It looks really great. Put up a wall right there on Stadium, separating the golf course. So now I don't have to see when I'm coming out like drunk people peeing in the bushes over there. There's a wall now, so that's great. But yeah, those lots are sold out. Damian Kuhn, Bush for Heisman, a little bit earlier on that, Damian. He might be linebacker of the year. He might be defensive player. I mean, you got so far what we've seen so far. Like I said, name 5 better linebackers in the country than Devin Bush. I can't do it. Ford Masterful says it's no surprise that our offense looked better once we went with more sets, having 2 to 3 tight ends out there. I like the play calling adjustments and passing and running scheme. And Ford Masterful, this is something that you and I talked about, and we've addressed this on the podcast before. I thought, these first 3 games, relatively vanilla. Get into Big Ten season, see it open up a little bit, and lo and behold, what did you guys ask for? What did I want to see? More tight end use, and we saw that. And I think that's just a sign of things to come. It's not just, okay, they took advantage of the looks they were getting from Purdue. I think that's going to be more part of the offense. And with power football, that's one thing, too, that we haven't really seen from Michigan yet, right? We haven't seen that aspect of power football. We haven't seen Khalid Hill a whole lot. We haven't seen Henry Poggi a whole lot. We haven't seen the tight ends a whole lot. What happened? Everybody wanted to talk about, the wide receiver situation, and I understand that. At the same time, I think it's very important to remember that power football was part of the foundation that Jim Harbaugh builds on. So, we haven't even seen that part of it yet. Steve says, spot on, Adam. Yep, and we did, Steve. We talked about this exact. I mean, you may have brought it up. A lot of you guys were, I was talking about it. You guys were talking about it. It's something that I was pretty confident that we were going to see, and we did. And something pretty confident that you guys thought we were going to see. Yeah, Steve did. Yeah, good job, Steve. That's why, man, I love doing this because you guys know your stuff too. I don't like just talking about Michigan football. It depends on the crowd, I guess. You know what I mean? And maybe some of you guys are like that too, or sports in general. It depends on the crowd. You guys are constructive. You guys know what you're talking about. Stats. You guys follow it just as much as I do. So, and it's my job. So, you guys are pretty good. Yeah, for Masterfuls, I think a few of us mentioned it. Yeah, I know it was something that we had talked about. I called Mike Zabrowski said I called Shane Lee getting in by, and yes, you did. Yes, you did, Mike. Big Bubba Blue, how about them Lions though? Hey, if you don't have enough evidence to overturn it, which I don't see that was conclusive enough to say that Golden Tate's knee was on the ground or not, and I've seen a couple different angles, but isn't it if you don't have enough evidence, then the call on the field stands? I don't want to talk about the Lions that much. I did watch that game, and I mean Matt Stafford looked pretty good to me. I mean, you talk about that final drive. I thought Matt was money. Wes Weber says Michigan rushing defense stats are incredible, especially considering they played Air Force. Right, and Air Force rushed the ball 49 times. So that's what essentially facing statistically, that's essentially facing 2 rushing attacks in one game. Right? Because, I mean, what's a normal team going to run the ball on you? 25 times, give or take. So double or nearly 2. Marcel Woods, does the MSU night game help prepare for Penn State? My belief is that game will be a night game plus college game day site. And I don't know, it's a little early to say, Marcel, but this plays into, the bye week thing too. Not only do they have to wait until October 7th, but they have to wait until 7:30 p.m. It's a night game, so this is an extended break for Michigan. And all I'm saying is momentum-wise, if I'm a player on Michigan right now, if I'm John O'Korn, I want to hit the field right now. Because they're feeling good. Injuries aside, I don't think that they're too banged up to where... But this is an early bye week compared to last year and the year before. I mean, and Michigan State just had its bye week before facing Notre Dame. So, they can't... I don't think that... I remember asking D'Antonio, he says, they can't really pick when their bye week is, so kind of just got to go with it. Ford Masterful says, I noticed on Wayne you stepped up after being pulled. This competition on the right side isn't over. Runyon had good moments too. I like John Runyon. Mike Zabrowski, do you feel we are the 8th best team in the country, higher or lower or accurate? That's like yes and no. Yes and no. Name a better team. Defense, right, is going to win championships. We all hear that. Michigan has the best defense in the country, bar none. I think as the year goes on, let's compare numbers and things like that. Right now, I mean, I thought that initially the preseason ranking, Michigan was number 11 or number 9, I think, the preseason ranking. I thought that was. I'm not totally sold on Michigan being a top 10 team. I guess right now because it's early. Maybe a little bit generous, maybe giving a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But I mean, Michigan is 4-0. Michigan does have a neutral site win against an SEC team. Michigan, the offense looked like maybe something against Purdue, but I mean, we know what the defense is. I guess to answer your question, do I think they're the 8th best team? I can't say with certainty, but I mean, among the top 10, 12 best teams without a doubt. Again, it's early. I want to see what some of these other teams do against, some good competition. I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of other teams. I mean, Florida State's played somebody, Ohio State, playing Oklahoma. I want to get into, about week 6 of the season. Then I think you can start really telling who's who. I guess statistically, poll-wise, whatever you want to say, yeah, Michigan's number 8. I don't have a huge problem. I mean, really, at this point, if I say, okay, well, Michigan's right outside top 10, I think Michigan's number 11, and okay, well, polls say number 8. At that point, I mean, we're just really nitpicking between those 3 spots, right? So, I don't have a huge problem with number 8. For Masterful says 8 seems fair. I would say that Florida win starts to look better with each win. I agree with that too. But again, I mean, I think if you peg them anywhere 8 to 10 or even just outside that top 10 at 11, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of room for griping. Because really, what separates those 3 teams? There's probably cases for each one of those teams. Elite Demon says, I don't even look at the polls until after week 6. And really, yeah, that's about when they really start to matter. All right, guys, going on 33 minutes. I do want to close it up. My top Heisman leaders. Probably Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Saquon. Barkley, I would say. Yeah, Saquon, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. What do you guys think? Steve says Mayfield, I think, has it. John Baker says hello, John. Costco, Barkley, yeah, but hey, Saquon's the man. I remember I covered that Big Ten championship game last year at Lucas Oil Stadium and just saw that second half from Penn State. Saquon is incredible. Mason Rudolph, yeah, Mason Rudolph is definitely worthy of mention. But again, in the Heisman talk, we're talking week 4. Who have all these guys played? I think Heisman talk, like the poll talk, you can really start getting into it week 6. So. Again, guys, I want to thank you for joining me. Really active chat tonight. A lot of live viewers. I appreciate it. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share. These podcasts, the more the merrier. I'll have another one. Thomas and I will have our preview show Wednesday. These past couple weeks, it just has not worked out for us, but we'll get it done Wednesday night. Well, actually, we don't have to because there's no opponent to preview. We'll still do on Wednesday night. I'll do a preview for Michigan State and Iowa for about the 3 people out there who care about Michigan State football, and trying to think what else we'll do. We'll figure it out the next one. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Read my stuff on FanRag Sports, fanragsports.com, at FanRag_U, and at FanRag Sports. And again, don't forget, audio-only versions are on iTunes, Google Play, and the FanRag Sports Blog Talk radio channel. And thanks to Tim and Keith at Mr. Spots, 808 State Street, for keeping me fed. You guys, it's disappointing news. I got to say this. Our Monday press conferences are no longer catered. Major bummer. And that's going to heavily influence the way that I write about Michigan for the rest of the year. If you give me food, I'm happy. If I'm hungry, I get hangry. I'm going to just start flapping. No, I'm kidding. But I am disappointed that there are no more catered lunches. So if you're so inclined, maybe we should start a petition. Feed the media on Monday. Like all you guys to sign it. Maybe get it kick-started here, and I'll send it to Michigan, and hopefully they can feed all of us sports writers and TV people. But anyway, I'm just thinking about food. I'm going to go eat dinner. Thanks again for joining me, guys. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you next time. You know what, guys? I just realized as I was closing it out, we didn't even talk about... Do you guys want me to read the Purdue statement real quick? Anybody? You guys still in here? Alright, yeah, because I saw you guys at Purdue, and I'm like, oh man, crap, I forgot. Alright, here's a statement for Purdue, guys. I was getting ready to close it down, and I'm like, I'm forgetting something right now. There was a major topic that we were supposed to talk about, and I forgot it. Okay, this is from Purdue, and I quote, Purdue regards the welfare, Purdue regards the welfare of all student athletes as its #1 priority. We would fully support a conversation regarding a conference-wide set of guidelines for visiting football team accommodations because we have experienced less than ideal conditions on the road. There is no place for gamesmanship when it comes to player care and safety. The after-the-fact concerns expressed by Michigan are somewhat surprising because a member of its football staff conducted a walkthrough of our facilities with our athletics department staff at Ross-Ade Stadium on July 18th. Furthermore, to help teams prepare in advance, our visiting team manual highlights in bold type, there is no air conditioning in the parentheses visiting locker room, with accompanying Purdue athletic staff contact information about how to request preferred temporary accommodations. We did not receive any such request. We're going to talk about this for like 5 minutes, then I'm hungry, and then I have to go. Final paragraph. Basic x-rays available within our athletic footprint and more sophisticated capabilities are located 2 blocks away, similar to the arrangements at many other schools. Our sports medicine staff members, in fact, have received numerous compliments from their Michigan counterparts regarding the care they received at Purdue. Okay, guys, I have a couple gripes about this. Walk through July 18th. Okay, how long ago was that? That was July 18th, right? Jim Harbaugh went off today. He said there needs to be a basic minimum, like a standard of care, and I couldn't agree more. I was not at Purdue, but the people that were there agreed. Angelique told, it was gross. A couple other people that were there. Poor visiting locker room. Okay, request air conditioning. I would think, and some people made this point on Twitter too, I mean, almost wouldn't it be common sense? Because it was 101 degree field temperature. I remember listening on the radio driving into East Lansing. I would think out of a courtesy. I mean, just common courtesy, right? And I don't know. It sounds like Purdue's encountered some bad on the road. Harbaugh said he's had some bad on the road too. Okay, you didn't request it. I get it, but they said it was a very small locker room. Garrett Morris tweeted out today that he's surprised someone didn't pass out. It's just one of those. It's one of those things where I wasn't surprised that Jim Harbaugh spoke on it, but I am surprised with Purdue's response a little bit because it's almost saying, well, I mean, you guys saw the locker room 3 months ago and it was okay. And Jim Harbaugh mentioned that the athletic training table, he said, looked like it was from the 20s. He said it was ripped and torn, and he said it wasn't a locker room from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, 70s, or even the 80s. So he wants there to be kind of a, conference-wide standard. They don't have to, and I tweeted this out earlier, it's not like, he's a rock star. He's asking for a big, clear bowl of only brown M&Ms and decor and, certain Perrier spring water and all this other stuff. It's just like, hey, like a clean locker room, properly ventilated equipment, just the basic equipment if a player has an injury. And, he said that at Michigan that they do their best to accommodate their guests. I've been in Michigan's visiting locker room, actually. They've had press conferences in there. I've been in there. It's not a hole. It's not It's not as nice as the home locker room, but it's certainly not a hole. You can do what you got to do in there, but it sounds like at Purdue it was small quarters, cramped, very uncomfortable, and they didn't have the proper medical equipment on staff. So Chris Hawk says Purdue football may not have the funds Michigan does. Costs a lot of money to upgrade. That is true, Chris, but at the same time, like I said, Harbaugh wasn't asking for state-of-the-art. He's asking for basic necessities that he feels lack at a lot of Big Ten schools in terms of, at least in their visiting locker room. So I did want to talk about that. We'll talk about it again, guys. I do want to eat, but I'm really going this time. Again, appreciate everybody for watching. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Read my stuff on FanRag Sports, FanRagSports.com, at FanRag_U. Have a good one. Wes, for Masterful Steve, Big Bubba Blue, Jeremy, Chris, everybody I'm seeing just right here, Elite Demon. Thanks, everybody, for asking questions. I'll talk to you next time. Have a good night.